So welcome to the first chapter of Stage 1 Market Research. This is one of the most important reoccurring things in business. You're going to continually come back and collect all the data that you've been receiving from not only your clients, but also from your ads, from your messaging, all that stuff down the road. You're going to come back and evaluate and get feedback and see if it's working or not. So it's very important to understand. When we're getting started, though, before we start our business, we want to understand the market we're getting into. So that's what we're going to cover in this one first. Starting out, getting you guys on board. Before you can build a profitable business, you need to understand how the market actually works. This chapter helps you shift from thinking like an employee with skills to thinking like a business owner in a real world market. First lesson is, what is a niche? Then we'll go over lesson 2, why niching down is critical. Lesson 3 is common mistakes in market research. Warning, this is the most important video in the entire course. Don't skip, watch the entire video, don't fast forward. Pro tip, watch the video in faster speed. If you can handle 2x, I speak fast, go for it. What is a niche? We're going to dump it into lesson 1. Here's the introduction. A niche is more than just an industry. It's a specific audience with a specific problem that you can solve. Very important to frame this in our minds. Trying to serve everyone leads to weak messaging, poor marketing, and low conversions. So this is a 3-part lesson. First part is defining a niche. Second part is broad market versus specific niche. And third, how to spot a niche that's too broad or too small. Niche, niche, niche. This lesson is all about it. Okay, let's define. Niche is a focused segment of a broader market where you solve a particular problem. For example, instead of being a general fitness coach, someone can niche down to helping busy tech professionals lose weight within 20-minute workouts. Here's the steps. A niche includes a clear audience, a specific pain point, and a tailored solution. Step 2, we're breaking this thing down. 3 steps. The more specific your niche, the easier it is to stand out. Third, businesses with a clear niche attract more engaged customers faster. So what's a broad market? What's a specific niche? What does that mean? Broad markets mean more competition. Narrowing down helps you become an authority faster. For example, a business coach competes with thousands of others, but a business coach for engineers transitioning into consulting has a focused, underserved audience. Here's the steps. Avoid general markets. Pick a specialized area where you can stand out. Look for a niche where people already spend money. Ensure your niche has a clear and urgent problem to solve. How to spot a niche that's too broad or too small. Some niches are too broad, meaning too much competition, while others are too small, meaning there's not enough demand. A niche like coaching for left-handed artists is too small, while coaching for digital artists selling on Etsy is a specific but big enough to sustain a business. So here's the steps to do that. Search for competitors. Some competition is a good sign. Check if people are already paying for solutions in this niche. Ask, are there enough problems to solve for long-term business? And now we get into why niching or niching down is critical. Lesson 2, introduction. Most beginners fear niching down because they think they'll lose potential clients. But focusing on a specific niche actually attracts more of the people. Part 1 is clarity, how a niche makes marketing and sales easier. Part 2 is reduced competition, become the go-to expert in a smaller market. And part 3 is higher profitability, how specific niches attract premium clients. I'm just going to switch to niche. Clarity, how a niche makes marketing and sales easier. When your niche is specific, your audience knows exactly what you do and why they need you. It's really important. So, for example, a content creator who says, I help small businesses with marketing, just blends in. But someone who says, I help realtors attract home buyers by using YouTube gets noticed. Here's the steps if we break this down. Be clear on your audience and their problem. Make sure your message is so specific that the right people recognize themselves immediately. Test different versions of your niche statement to see what resonates most. It is very critical. You want to stand out. You don't want to enter a market where you're vague and you're not really calling out your ideal client, which we'll get into later on, how to do that. It doesn't really ring true for them when they hear it. It's just another person talking about something vague that, is this for me? Is it not? They really shouldn't be asking those questions. They should think after hearing your offer statement, or when you make a message in your sales, you write certain copy, which is basically just text designed to sell. People want to be saying, wow, that actually sounds a lot like me. Or, hey, this thing is made for me. That's actually creating a lot of interest. I want to see what that's about. I get curious when they call me out like that. Reduced competition, becoming the go-to expert in a smaller market. The more focused your niche, the easier it is to stand out. A designer who works with all types of businesses competes with thousands. But a designer who specializes in branding for SaaS startups can dominate that space. Breaking it down in the steps, find a niche with demand, but without an overwhelming number of competitors. If a niche feels competitive, differentiate yourself by focusing on a specific subgroup. Step 3, look for gaps in the market that competitors are not addressing. This is crucial. You don't want to enter into a market where you think nobody's doing it already. For example, a loyalty rewards program for barbers to get reoccurring customers to come back and also refer their friends, so then you can get more people in your chair, which means more money in your pocket, right? More customers. Fill up those seats. Assuming that's already created, assuming that barbers need that. Maybe you talk to a few barbers. It's like, oh yeah, I could totally use that. And then later you find out, oh, wait a minute, they do actually use that in their software, and they have been for a long time. They're not very good at using it, so they forget, but it exists. And you spend all this time building out an offer, and then you launch it, and you're like, oh crap, I'm competing against the big dogs in this industry, so to speak. That's a tough position to be in, and it's a lot of time wasted if you don't do enough market research. You're going to find that out the hard way and have to go back to the drawing board anyway. Or you're going to have to try to look for those gaps in the market that those industry leaders are not addressing, which may take more time. So you could consider that a setback, but it's also a learning experience. So there's a reframe there, but ultimately if you can avoid that by doing enough market research up front and having a really focused niche that can become that go-to expert very quickly because you're skillful there, being specific, calling a specific person out, solving a specific problem in that market, you won't have to go through the difficulty of looking for all those gaps, because you're going to stand out so much because you're going to be so specific. You're going to be specialized. Kind of like the comparison to like a foot doctor and a general doctor. If you go to a general doctor and there's something really wrong with your foot, he's going to refer you to a specialist for feet. So that foot doctor is niched down, specialized, and expert on that specific part of the body. So higher profitability, how specific niches attract premium clients, similar to the foot doctor, is a good experience. People are willing to pay more for specialized expertise. For example, a general business coach may charge $50 an hour, while a coach who helps lawyers build personal brands online can charge $5,000 per client. It's more specialized. You appear to be more of an expert. You can attract more premium clients, more people aligned with the skill or the thing that you're an expert in. Very critical. So to break this down in steps, focus on a niche where people are already spending money. Missing the word "are" there. Position yourself as an expert rather than a generalist. Instead of a general doctor, you're a foot specialist. You can charge a premium for that. Offer a clear and premium solution that delivers results. Make it clear in your prospects' minds that the person that you want to serve and solve the problem for needs to be clear in their mind when you make your offer statement. And we'll get into that later on what that looks like. We're just going over the concept right now. And yeah, this will become more apparent as we go. This is just introducing you to the concept of a niche in markets. Common mistakes in market research. Many entrepreneurs skip the market research or make critical mistakes that cost them time and money. Kind of like building out an entire offer for a niche that appeared to have a lot of underserved people and therefore gaps in it. And you thought you were filling those gaps, only to later find out that the thing that you were creating already exists and you have a lot of competition. If you had done more market research, you would have found that competition and saw those problems already being solved. You can gauge your competition, which isn't always, it's not like a game killer or anything like that. It's just something that has to be accounted for you to stand up more, to find the underserved markets and the gaps in problems that people are experiencing, or gaps in solutions, I should say. Avoiding these mistakes ensures you build a business people actually want. So the parts of this: choosing a niche based on passion alone without demand. We'll get into not researching the competition, which I talked about a little bit already. And then we'll get into not validating the niche before committing, which would be validating the niche, or sorry, not validating the niche and building out this huge offer with a bunch of resources and a course and all these programs and all these things, and then realizing people actually don't care and don't want it, and it doesn't sell very well. It happens. Choosing a niche based on passion alone without demand is first up. Passion is great, but your niche also needs paying customers. So, example, someone loves handmade wooden pens. I mean, who doesn't, right? But if no one buys them or is buying them, it's a hobby, not a business. Just gotta look at the reality there. What we want to do is ask, are people spending money in this niche? We want to check if there are products, courses, or services being sold in this space. And we want to balance you want to balance what you love, what you're good at, and what people will pay for, which is the ikigai concept. And that's essentially aligning yourself with your business. And it's like something you care about, to where it's easy to keep going on it. It's not just some random thing that you decided to venture into that you don't really care about, which is important. And I'll have to attach a document to this chapter explaining the ikigai concept and leveraging AI, so then we can figure out what our ikigai is in like 5 minutes. And that really helps with finding a niche that we can begin to test out and do market research on that's aligned with us. Getting into not researching the competition. We talked about this a little bit before. Some people avoid niches with competitors, but competition means demand exists. So it's not like competition isn't necessarily good or bad. It just means you have to consider the factors. How does it factor in? If there's way too much competition, then it's going to be hard to stand out. If there's little to no competition, then maybe people aren't buying it. It's not a thing that is in demand. You'll have trouble with sales. Either way, I guess you'd have trouble with sales. A branding expert sees many designers offering logo design. Instead of avoiding it, they focus on branding specifically for tech startups. I don't know how that example relates. It made sense when I wrote it. Let's talk about that. So I don't even understand that example. I'm going to have to fix that. I apologize for that terrible example. But the example I gave earlier with the barbers and the loyalty program, that fits. That's actually a real example. I didn't make that up. That's something one of my clients experienced, and they had to go back to the drawing board, so to speak, but it's totally fine. You want to catch that as soon as possible. And he did, by talking to people in his market and in his niche, which is exactly what you want to do. So it's a great example of why this is so important. So steps here, if we break it down, you want to study competitors to see what's already working. You want to find gaps, what's missing in the market. And you want to offer something unique, different angle, process, or niche audience, meaning get even more specialized or specific on who you serve. Very important. Last, we're going to get into the last common mistake people make in market research is not validating the niche before committing. We talked a little bit about this. So many entrepreneurs spend months building offers before knowing if people actually want them. For example, if a business coach spends 6 months making a course, but when they launch, no one buys because they never validated demand first. I'm a business coach and I spent like 3 months on this course. At the time of this recording, I'll probably spend more time on this, honestly. I'm pretty sure people are going to buy this. Well, I'm not really selling the course, but it's a part of my program. I validated the hell out of this thing. So if it doesn't, it'd be very interesting, or it needs tweaks. That's the thing, is like, it's not always just like scrap the whole thing. But I spent a lot of time doing market research before I committed to making this course right now that you're seeing. That's validating the demand. There's a demand that people want to leave their tech business and start a online service-based business with their skills to escape the rat race of the corporate 9 to 5, where they tell you what to build and when to build it. And it's never really your own thing, and you might not have as much creative control as you want. And you're kind of just a cog in the machine. So there's a lot of people with that pain. This is a way out for them, a solution, which is why I created it. I went through this myself. You'll learn more about my story as I share it. But right now, just understand that before you like commit to building out something that takes months and months, have conversations with people in that niche or that market to make sure that it's something that they actually want if you do decide to build it. Talk to potential customers before building anything. Offer a low cost or beta version to test interest. Very important as well. If people aren't excited, adjust your niche before investing more time. Essential. All right, let's review what we just went over in this chapter of understanding the market. So, quick recap: choosing a niche gives your business clarity, focus, and profitability. Very important. Market research ensures your niche has demand. Do not assume. And we want to avoid the biggest mistakes by validating your idea before committing. Final action steps. Now it is time to start defining your niche. Write down 3 broad areas you're passionate about or skilled in. Brainstorm sub-niches with these areas, which are the specific problems and audiences. Third, check for demand. Are people already paying for solutions in this niche? 4, look at competitors. What are they doing well? Where can you stand out? And I'll leave this up for another second. You can pause it, but yeah. Up next is chapter 2, stage 1, market research, and we're going to get into finding profitable niches. Now that we understand what a niche is, how do we find a profitable one, Spencer? That's exactly what we're going to get into. So I will see you in the next video.